Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. I am about to give you something a little bit different. So what I'm a pitch trainer. Basically, I help startups, small businesses, large businesses, individuals, professionals who want to basically present a little bit better, to present what they say, not just what they say, but more so how they say it and how they deliver their own idea. You've seen, some of you in this room, I'm sure, have seen many different pitches. You've seen some great ones, some not so great ones, and maybe, just maybe, some really awful ones, okay? So, and I'm sure you've seen many different ideas and heard many different ideas. Some ideas, many ideas are the same, but there's one thing that will make you, as somebody delivering that message, different, and that's your communication. That's how you communicate your idea. When we put together a pitch, we put together the pitch deck, hours and hours thinking about what we're going to say, how we're going to say it, the team, the idea, the problem, how we're going to solve that problem. We put it all together. However, at the end of the day, a lot of what we neglect, again, is how we deliver our idea, how we deliver our pitch and how to say it. So basically for the next 20 minutes or so, I will stand here and I'm going to give you some ideas, some insights, some tips, not just for startups, okay, for entrepreneurs, for anybody basically trying to get their message out a little bit better and have more impact in what they say and how they say it as well. Okay, so the first thing, if I was to ask you, what is the first thing as an audience member when you look at somebody or when you're listening to a pitch, what is the main thing you want your audience to do? There's one thing which is essential, that you need the person you're trying to influence, the investor, the person who's going to maybe nod their head and come on board with your idea. There's one thing really important that you really need to gain from your audience, and that's trust, okay? As soon as I came on this morning and started walking up and down with the microphone and welcomed you this morning, there were probably three things going through your mind, okay? One of those things was, I like this guy. I like this guy. I'm going to stick around. I'm engaged. I'm going to listen to what he says. I believe this guy. This guy isn't an enemy to me. He could be a resource, and I'm going to stick around. That's probably the first thing. The second thing, perhaps you were thinking, hopefully not, but perhaps you were thinking, no, don't like this guy at all. Don't like him. I don't like what he looks like. I don't like how he stands. I don't like what he says. He's an enemy to me. He's a predator. I don't want to go anywhere near this guy. It may be that. Hopefully it wasn't. And the third one in this area, which is where most of us actually fit into or were thinking this morning, was perhaps kind of indifference. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter at all, which basically most of us are designed to do, to be indifferent. So think about it. What you have to do as a presenter or somebody pitching, for example, what you have to do somehow with what you say, your body language, how you say it, what you look like, all those little things have got to kind of persuade people to come on over to the good side, okay? We're trying to get you over to the good side. Now, there's a few things I did this morning, and I'm doing them right now, that hopefully will make you come on over to the good side, okay? And that's with the trust side, okay? So here, you can see my stomach. You can actually see that there's no barrier here. I'm not standing behind this podium here at all. You can see me fully. You can see my whole body from top to toe. And you can see I've actually got nothing to hide here, okay? So it's really important to have as much openness as you can when delivering your message. So even if you're in a small room, okay, boardroom, sitting down, if you have an opportunity to stand up, you stand up. You stand up, and that will just give you there will be more trust and more credibility from you when you give that message, okay? Also, another thing you can see is actually my hand. You can see the palm, not this hand, but this hand certainly, the palm of my hand. It's really important that you see the palms of the person's hands who's talking, okay? This tells you that I've got nothing to hide. I haven't got a weapon in my hand, okay? I haven't got anything to strike you with. You kind of trust me. It's almost like when you give a handshake. Yeah, giving a handshake with the palm so people can see you've actually got nothing to hide at all. Let me just give you an example, for example. Okay, so the Nordic Startup Conference is a fantastic conference, and this is something that everybody should go to. Okay, the Startup Conference, this Nordic Startup Conference is a conference which everybody should go to, and it's a really fantastic place to be. Okay, which one is more convincing, the first one or the second one? Clearly the second one. Okay, also remember here, this is kind of like the trust area, okay? This area here, so when you have your hands level with your stomach area here, it's almost like the trust area. So when you're talking about things that maybe you want people to trust, gaining that credibility, quite serious topics, for example, use your hands around this area, okay? However, when you want to build up the excitement a little bit more, something that's fantastic, something that's great, something that's really, really inspiring, for example, you need to bring your hands up to this level, okay? Up to this level. So think about that. So whenever you put your pitch together and when you're practicing it, okay, remember the things that are kind of trusty areas, bring them down here with your arms and your hands, okay? And if it's something where you really want to build up a little bit more momentum, okay, create a little bit more excitement, blood level goes up slightly, you need to bring your hands up slightly as well, okay? Right, we move on. Manage nerves. This is something which affects us all of us. This morning, before I came on, I was nervous. I was. Even though I've done this quite a few times, quite a lot of bigger events as well, but still, going on stage in front of a lot of people is not a natural thing, is it? It's not a natural thing at all. However, what you need to do, you need to kind of take that level of anxiety and turn it to your benefit and use it as excitement. I kind of use it as excitement. At the beginning, as I say, right at the beginning of the conference, I probably looked quite nervous, my anxiety level was quite high. However, I was thinking clearly in my head how it's going to run out. And that's something which I advise everybody to do if they can do that. It's to visualize, clearly visualize in your mind how this little movie is going to play out, okay? You do that with your pitch, and you do it enough times, and that will move you forward, certainly with your nerves. Also, if you're pitching, or wherever you're pitching, it's a really good idea to come and actually stand at the point where you're going to pitch, okay? Unfamiliarity is why we feel nervous. We fear things that we don't know, okay? As soon as we stand in a place where we've got a pitch, we already look around and we see what we're going to see when we finally pitch. So then we feel kind of more comfortable with our surroundings. So it's really important to get as comfortable as you can with your surroundings when you present or when you pitch, wherever that may be. The place where you're doing that, the room where you're going to do that, the stage where you'll do that. Okay, it's really important to do that. Also, another thing, which some people actually do as well, I'm going to ask you to do this for me. If you could just focus on me, if you could just look straight at me, just focus on me, nothing else, focus on me, okay? Now, I want you to start looking, still looking at me, focusing on me, start looking to my left over here, and to my right, okay? Keep doing that, okay? So you're focusing on me, however, your vision is kind of widened vision, complete widened vision, okay? After a bit of time, you'll see, or you'll feel, that actually makes you feel more comfortable and more relaxed, okay? So certainly those of you that are feeling the anxiety, if you've got high anxiety levels, try that little trick, and that certainly will start to bring down the nerves and bring down those anxiety levels. Also, another thing to remember as well, when you pitch, all right, when you share your idea, think about it. There is nobody else in that room, maybe apart from your other members of the team, but majority of the time, there's nobody else in that room that knows your idea or concept better than you. Okay, so there's nobody else kind of more credible and more qualified to share that information than you. Also, audiences usually don't want people to fail. They don't want people to fail. They want to come and they want to gain something. You've come in here thinking to yourself, right, I want something from this. Hopefully I will gain something from this. And when you leave, you want to go away with something that's going to help you, don't you? Don't you? Yes, you do. You do. Absolutely. Yes, you do. You might not say it, you might not look it, but you do. So it's really important to remember, you've got to give something to your audience. You really have to give something to make them more educated, give them something to make them more smarter, okay? And give them something that they want, okay? Also, it's really important as well to remember that you are going to dictate how the pitch is going to go, okay? Do not, and I repeat this, maybe especially in Denmark, from what I've seen so far, okay? Do not let your audience dictate to you with their signals how your pitch is going, okay? Or how your presentation is going. Because I'll tell you one thing, what I see now, I see people on their phones. I see people reading books. I see people maybe looking away to the other side. I see people maybe because they've had a long day, they've just had one of those fantastic dinosaur sandwiches. They're a little bit tired perhaps, they haven't had a coffee, or they had bad news, or a million things could be going on, okay? But it's really important not to take those signals and react on those signals as a speaker, okay? What you have to do, you have to basically think to yourself, okay, I'm gonna nail this, all right? I'm going to put as much energy and tension in my body that will actually get it going as well. Tension, when I say tension, some of you, I'm sure you're thinking, well, why should I be tense? I don't want to be tense. I'm not talking about being tense, I'm talking about tension, okay? So in your body, if you start to relax and take the tension out of your body, what happens is your voice then becomes the same as the tenseness in your body, which is quite relaxing. So it could, you could get to this stage where you just relax, and when I start talking like this, I'm sure as an audience, you start to get bored and start to nod off yourself, and the level of engagement is kind of going down and down and down, isn't it? It's already there, perhaps. It was already there at the beginning of the presentation, perhaps. However, what you do, if you put some energy and you really put your tension into your body, okay, you can then actually try to get your audience to engage with you mentally, okay? What you need to do, you need to get your audience to nod, okay? Mental nods. Okay, more pitches which have more nods usually are more successful. Okay, so it's basically giving information, and people say, well, yeah, I agree with that. That's right. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, absolutely. So they don't have to physically nod, but just sort of mentally nod inside with what you're saying. And sometimes giving the most simple and clear pieces of information that everybody knows, but they nod, will help you move forward and certainly keep them engaged with your pitch, okay? Performance. A lot of people ask me, is it a performance? Is it acting? Is it being authentic? Well, I can tell you right now, standing on this stage is not an authentic thing to do, is it? Standing in front of people with a microphone, in front of a lot of people, is not a normal thing to do. Okay, so I don't when I'm out in the street, or from now until I go home, I will not be speaking like this. This is not authentic. So it really is a kind of performance side, okay? Think about when you first went on your first date. Yeah, think back. First date, or any date. Think about a date, okay? Think about a date. How did you feel? What did you want to do? You wanted to impress, didn't you? You wanted to be the best you could be at that particular time, okay? And that's what pitching is all about. That's what presenting is all about. It's not being somebody else, it's being you. It's just being the best version of yourself with as much energy as you can possibly give to get people to engage with you, to agree with you, and to be with you, taking them through your idea, okay? So being the best person you can be, okay, when you present is what it's all about. Right, gestures and stance. I've already mentioned a little bit about gestures as well. When you look at me or when you hear me, you look directly at my face, you look around my mouth, and then the next thing you'll look at is my hands, okay? So use your hands. Use your hands as much as you can, okay, to really get your message across, all right? That doesn't actually mean waving your hands about all the time. You need to move your hands and arms in sync with what you're saying. Okay, so it's really important that you use them either down here or up here slightly, okay? And using them symmetrically will also help you give a little bit more credibility and more of a kind of presidential feel to what you're saying, okay? If you do it asymmetrically, for example, it's a little bit more difficult, okay? Stance, standing, okay? So imagine if you stood together like this, if you keep your feet together like this, and what happens then is actually my stomach actually comes at a natural standing position. My stomach actually sticks out slightly. That's what happens when you do that, okay? And your shoulders, they go back as well, which doesn't look great at all, okay? As soon as you put them about slightly apart, okay, you actually go forward. Your shoulders also are actually symmetrical as well. All right, but if I put it a little bit further like this, what happens to my height? That goes down. I'm quite a short man. I make up for it in different ways when I pitch. So it's really important to feel as tall as you can. It's all about being tall. Guys, if you're tall, you're already there. However, I've seen guys that are tall physically, but small when they pitch. Okay, so it's you. Who said woo? It's true, very, very true. So it's really important you have to feel as tall as you can, okay? And again, to do that, to have your legs apart just like this and shoulders equal space as well. And just using your body here to move around like this, okay? Once you start getting more confident and more stronger with your pitches, what you can do, you can move to different parts of the stage and then start talking about another chapter, another idea, another message. And you can do the same as you walk across to the other side quite confidently and quite comfortably as well. Or what you could do, you can do what I do now and again, is actually come off the stage. So remember, unpredictability is what you want to be. As soon as a pitch starts to become predictable, you start to lose your audience. If it starts to become predictable in the tone of voice, it just becomes the same thing like this. And after a while, what will happen is what happened a little bit earlier on, where you start getting bored and it's predictable, you know what's coming next, and you're bored. Like right now, on your faces, I can see you're bored. So it's really important not to be predictable and to do small things with your voice, variety of your movement, where you go, just by coming off the stage. Some of you will remember that. And especially the ones I come closer to when I'm speaking like this, okay? Right, eye contact, very important indeed, all right? So some people, many different ideas and techniques on this one. Someone once said to me what he does is actually look at the exits, like one over there, and one over there, and just keeps kind of bouncing between the two. When I look at people on stage, you have a feeling that I'm interested in you. I am interested in you. But when you look at people while you're on stage, it's actually a nice thing to do. With a crowd like this and the time I have, I can pretty much get most of you in, pretty much, okay? Some people actually feel quite nervous or the anxiety levels go up when they start to look at somebody straight in the eye, okay? So what you could do, again, a lot of people do this, is actually not actually look at them, but just look above their heads, okay? So I'm actually looking at nobody now, just above your heads, I'm looking at all the hairstyles in the room. I'm not looking at anybody's eyes, into the eyes of nobody here. I'm just looking at the many different Danish, Nordic hairstyles in this room. So again, you just kind of skim the top, all all right? Skim the top, and that give the impression that you're actually looking at people's eyes, and will actually help your audience feel a little bit more comfortable with you as well. Be concise. Okay, so you put your pitch deck together. Okay, you've got everything you want to say. You've got a lot of things there. All right. First thing you need to do is cut it down. Okay. Then you cut it down again, and after that, you cut it down one more time. Okay. So it's really, really important, essential that in your pitch, every word you've got there, every kind of sentence in there is there for a reason. Okay. So often what happens is we kind of send out a message and then we say the same thing, same message in a slightly different way. And then what happens towards the end, again, the same kind of message, but in a different way. What you need to scrap those last two messages, stick with the first one, okay? And then use the other time for other things. And I'll speak about those in a second, all right? So it's really important. Being concise, having the words that are in your pitch, the words that you say, they all have to be there for a reason. If it's not there for a reason, if it's just something else that's just kind of there to fill up a little bit of time, kick it out, get it out, okay? And use that time for something else. Oh. Can you pop it back on? Is that possible? I think the next one was actually silence. Silence. Now, any great public speaker, all the good public speakers really know how to use silence in their pitches, in their presentations. Silence is a really, really strong tool. A lot of us think to ourselves, well, hey, silence is not good. As soon as we say nothing, then everybody's looking at us, don't know what to say. Feels like an awkward moment. Silence used well can actually give real impact to what you say. You can use it in different different areas. For example, if you want to build up a little bit of momentum, you want to build up the feeling of what you're going to say, okay, and then suddenly, right at the end, you deliver what you have to say, okay. So having that pause does two main things. That pause does two main things. The first thing it does is actually helps your audience digest that information. Okay? The speed of which you are speaking, very, very important to slow it right down. So whatever your normal speed is, slow that right down. Okay? So you can give your audience a chance to digest those pieces of information. The other thing it does is for you as a speaker, is great. For you as a speaker, it gives you time to think, bang, of what's next. Gives you time to think of what's actually coming next. And all you need is a split second. All you need is a split second. So remember, building up momentum, taking it forward, and then suddenly giving out the message. And then waiting. Asking a question, a little bit of time. Let people digest the information they have. Okay? Can you just great. Okay, and number 8, your voice. Your voice. Now you've already heard that excuse me, you can hear my voice, my voice is going. My voice, I try to put as much variety into the voice as possible. Okay, so it's really important, really a good thing to actually bring your voice down. The lower your voice, the lower you can bring your voice down, the more credibility and the more trust you can actually gain. Okay, ladies, you're actually very good. Surveys show that, research shows that you're very, very good at manipulating your voice. Yes. It's true. Bringing it right down, which is why women maybe voices are a lot more sexier than men when they're a lot lower. So bringing your voice down will actually give you more credibility. Remember that. I've heard so many pitches, and I remember last week, in fact, a pitch I heard in Frankfurt, and a guy came on. He looked good, looked great. He did everything he had to do. Okay. As soon as he started speaking, his voice was quite high like this. And he started to talk about his idea. This is no joke, no lie at all, okay? Apart from being annoying, a very annoying voice, it was far too high, okay? So what he needed to do, and I spoke to him afterwards, we had a long chat, me with my low voice, him with his high voice. So trying to bring your voice down, manipulating your voice and bringing it down, lower, will actually certainly give you more credibility and more trust as a speaker whenever you're sharing your message, okay? Number 9, tell me a story. I'm sure you've heard this before. Every pitch, we need to have a connection. We need that connection with our audience. We need, like any good movie or good book, at the beginning, bang, the first page. It's all about the first page. What we read at the beginning, we remember, grabs our attention. The same with a film, an action film, bang, something happens. And we remember that very, very well. So whatever you do, you have to, the first thing you do whenever you're putting your pitch together, okay, remember, sit down, pads out, start thinking about the story that you're going to tell, the story of how it started, how it's going, and obviously how it's going to end up, okay? Also, remember, certainly during the question and answer time, question and answers, and also afterwards when, for example, you're sitting with an investor or you're getting a lot of questions about your idea. It's really good to have, a collection of 3, 4, 5, 6 different anecdotes, different small stories that you can throw out that tell people about maybe a story of how you struggled at the beginning, a story of small achievements along the way. Okay, stories of where you're going. Okay, so it's not just having one story and taking it through with your message through your pitch, but also having quite a few other ones at the back in your pocket ready to throw out if you need to about your story, about who you are. Okay. Okay, and number 10, the final one. This is it. This is the final one, the call to action. Call to action. This is something that a lot of people, they just simply forget. So they put everything together. They've told an audience how great their idea is. Concept is perfect, is beautiful. However, you always need, whatever you do, whatever you present, you need to tell your audience to do something. Okay? Whatever that is, it does not matter. Okay, but it's important that you get your audience to do something. That may mean just subscribe to our newsletter. That may mean send us an email. That may mean let's have a coffee and have a chat and let's start the ball rolling. Okay, but you really always need a call to action somewhere in your pitch, preferably right at the end, so they remember it and they actually take action with what you've just said. You get lots of people who are interested in your idea, okay? If you don't give them a call to action at the end, they're not going to react to you straight away. If you just said, okay, let's send me an email and let's see, they're going to forget about it. They've got 1,000 other things to think about. Why should they care about your idea? Okay. If you could just... Okay, right, we have come to the very last part, very last part of this session. Hopefully there was something in there that you can take with you, that you can use perhaps on your next presentation, on your next startup idea perhaps. Okay, a lot of those were generic, a lot of those were kind of general things. However, these are the things we need. If you do all these things, will these things get you investment? Probably not. Okay, doing all these things, will they actually make you more successful? Probably not. However, what they will do is certainly increase your chances of more success. These are the things you have to build upon. These are things which you have to work upon, okay? They don't happen overnight. If you do them, you should actually move slightly forward than you are at the moment. Right now, we're not going to do the Slido.com thing. However, does anybody have a question they want to throw out to me regarding anything that I've mentioned already? Anybody at all? Yes, my friend. How do you adapt it? All right, first of all, you have to firstly see the context that you're in, okay? At the end of the day, At the end of the day, whatever culture you are presenting to, or whatever culture you are in, or whatever you are doing, the energy and the passion is always welcome, okay? That's something I don't see too much in this area, for example. I don't know, tell me, is that quite common? Are pitches quite energetic here? Are they? I was like, no. So trying to bring as much energy, or showing people that you do care about your idea. You know, you are a CEO of the idea. It's your damn idea. If I'm going to invest in something, if I'm going to put my money into somebody, I want to see that they're going to show me that they're with it all the way. Yeah? Sorry, yes, question.
Like I said, they show energy and attitude here in Denmark.
They show attitude and they show a lot of energy.
The pictures I've seen, they're really determined to show their value.
So pictures you've seen in Denmark are usually quite energetic, they're quite determined, and they've got quite a lot of attitude. Fantastic, that's great to hear. Shouldn't be a problem then. Okay. Any other questions at all from anybody? Yes?
How can you avoid...
Give me that.
I wanted to ask, how can you avoid coming across maybe as overconfident or arrogant, as opposed to just hitting the right level of confidence?
Yeah, good. That's a really good question. That's a really good question. That's a really, really good question. So when I started public speaking, I actually came across as very, very arrogant. I did. Because I put so much energy in it, and I kind of kept saying to myself, yeah, I'm the best, I've got to be the best, and I've got to do as much as I can, okay? But I think that's something that really comes with practice. The more you practice, and the feedback you get, somebody actually told me afterwards, you're arrogant, you seem quite arrogant. So, and then I came away thinking, I was actually quite hurt. I felt like, well, hang on a minute, I'm not really arrogant, but clearly I come across as really confident, I come across as really arrogant, so somewhere I've got to kind of shake it up and change it, okay? So to answer that really is really, the more you do it, and the more you kind of watch yourself, also film yourself. Everyone's got a smartphone, film yourself, okay? Film it, look at it, get other people to look at it as well. And get the advice you need. Okay. Any other questions before we finish? Any questions at all? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Hopefully there's something that was interesting for you, and we'll be going on to the next speaker. Thank you very much.